Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back once again to Today in African History with Baba Shaka. I'm Baba Shaka, and today is August 5th, 2021, and it was exactly 59 years ago that South African activist Nelson Mandela was arrested, an action that set off a chain of events that would change the course of South Africa. On August 5th, 1962, Nelson Mandela was arrested. This arrest set in motion a change of events that made Nelson Mandela a household name around the world. It also eventually brought about the end of the South African political system known as apartheid. Eventually, Nelson Mandela became the president of South Africa and he received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993, one of the highest honors that human beings bestow upon each other. Now, what was it that made his arrest so powerful? To understand the significance, you need to understand what happened both before and after that day. See, Nelson Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, near the South African town of Kunu. He lived a fairly prosperous life as a child, attending private schools and then college, and he then finished college while working as a law clerk in Johannesburg. But after the elections of 1948, the apartheid political system became the law of the land in South Africa. Under the system, the country was divided along racial lines, with one area known as white South Africa and another known as black South Africa, and so on. Kind of like what's happened here in the U.S. Now, everything having to do with government, including voting, education, and so forth, was divided along racial lines. As a result, whites control every aspect of the South African government, sort of like what's happening here in America. Over the course of the next several years, a number of laws were enacted to enforce the separation between the races. For example, interracial marriage became illegal, sort of like what used to happen in certain parts of the United States. Different areas of South Africa were set aside for people of different races to live in, and by 1953, it was illegal for different races to share facilities like drinking fountains and restrooms. Kind of like what used to happen here in America. Okay. Mandela started working peacefully against apartheid, but he was arrested for the first time in 1956, accused of treason along with 150 others. All were eventually set free, but the arrest had an effect. By the 1960s, influenced by his time in prison and other events like the Sharpeville massacre, Mandela's peaceful ideas changed. He led an armed resistance that used techniques such as the destruction of government property to fight against apartheid. And it was for these acts and the fact that he left the country in 1962 without a passport and then came back. But it was mainly for these acts that he was arrested and imprisoned in 1962. The apartheid system in South Africa was growing around the same time the United States was working to undo decades of racial discrimination against Africans here in America. Now, as you might imagine, the sentiment in certain areas, not all of America, but certain areas of the United States and the rest of the world was very much against apartheid. And the imprisonment of Nelson Mandela caused a great deal of anxiety. Now, why did Mandela get so much attention? Part of it has to do with Mandela's leadership position in the armed struggle. But another part of it has to do with his then wife, Winnie Mandela. Now, while Nelson was in prison, Winnie campaigned very publicly for his release, and her pleas resonated around the world. She also suffered mightily at the hands of the apartheid regime. Now, a breakthrough came in 1989 when then President P.W. Botha lost office due to a stroke he suffered. And Botha's replacement, F.W. de Klerk, released Nelson Mandela from prison in 1990. De Klerk then oversaw the dismantling of the apartheid system, and then de Klerk and Mandela shared the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993 for their combined efforts to end apartheid. Now, because Mandela had so much public recognition in 1994 and Africans held a majority in the new democratic South Africa, he was elected president in the first free election in the country. Now, please remember that these daily lessons are not designed to give you a semester's worth of information. They're intended to just pique your interest and hopefully cause you to dig deeper into the subject matter. Now, when I mention that the events of 1989, with F.W. de Klerk replacing P.W. Botha as leader of the apartheid regime, being a breakthrough, I must emphasize that that was one of many breakthroughs. I encourage you to investigate the role played by Cuba in Angola that greatly impacted the events in South Africa. Also, there was the international anti-apartheid movement, which was started in front of the South African embassy in Washington, D.C. by Randall Robinson, Eleanor Holmes Norton, and others. There's just too much of this history to be covered in these few minutes. So needless to say, you, yes you, have some homework to do. All right. So once again, I would like to thank G.A.J.Fashion LLC for their support of our program. Now, Miss Juliana Gabeto Sole is the proprietor, designer, and seamstress slash tailor. And I will, inshallah, list her contact information down in the description section. Now, if you live in the DMV, that is the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, give Miss Julie a call and stop by to experience her fantastic collection of men's and women's fashion and accessories. Now, if you live outside of the DMV, you can still give her a call. I'm confident that shipping arrangements can be made. Okay. A mighty big thank you to all of our subscribers who continue to support us. To those of you who have not yet subscribed, this is a great time to hit that subscribe button just below there and lend us your much needed support. Please like and leave a comment down in the comment section. But most importantly, please share, especially with the young amongst us, because as you and I both know, this material is not taught in our schools. So, until tomorrow, inshallah, this is Baba Shaka with Today in African History. Masalam.